Hello, everyone. Welcome at the PAM Blockchain Conference. It's our fourth day of the conference already, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some insights and maybe found new experts for your projects. And I hope maybe you found some friends here. And let me introduce our next guest. It's Alik Talipov. He's an expert in creating IT communities and all kind of communities in general. He likes producing different events, hackathons, for example. And this conference is also one of the things he was responsible for. And we are all very grateful to Alik and his team for this conference. So let's welcome our guest. Hello, Alik. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you and very glad to be here. And of course, happy Friday, everyone. And today we are talking about unlocking the power of community. As Lisa said, my name is Alik, and I'm currently working as a senior community specialist at EPAM Systems. And namely, I'm working with the community of blockchain professionals, which is open for everyone, not only for EPAM. And previously, I had some experience in running startup communities and product analyst communities, and worked a lot with managing content and different content for technical audiences. So, yeah, I'm going to start from afar, but that's not going to be very long, just to make an intro on some theory about developer relations, first of all. And then we will go to community goals, different formats, solutions, and some other aspects as well. And at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So feel free to leave your messages in the live chat. Feel free to ask any questions, and we will come back to the live chat at the end. So, okay, now in the world of IT, there is a new communication-based direction is being formed. And I am starting with the definition of developer relations, and literally the name says for itself, and it speaks the definition. And developer relations are the relationship with developers, or maybe some interaction between the developers. To make it even more simple, you can see the formula on the screen, which means that DevRel is a synergy of engineering, marketing, and community. So you probably haven't heard this term before, but nowadays it's a whole separate area that exists within the industry of technology, within the industry of IT, and tech PR as well. And people always confuse us with HRs, and which is wrong. And what makes me laugh that sometimes people even confuse us with recruiters in some cases, but that's false as well. And to understand it better, let's have a look at this slide, at this diagram. In a broad sense, this area is responsible for building relationships between a company and an IT community. I think that initially DevRels were engaged in the promotion of products for developers, but a little later, DevRel as a function began to be used by different businesses to work with the company's brand as well. And so why did developer relations take shape in such a separate and big direction and field? That's because setting up communications with developers and with the world of IT as a whole is a big problem nowadays for business. And today, DevRel solves many business problems, many issues through communication with communities and creating new ones around a certain product or a certain technology. For example, we are coming together around the technology of blockchain. And today, today we can find different skill sets, and this branch of developer relations is divided into three other elements. And here you can find this diagram, which explains the main components of developer relations, which can be divided into elements of community management, people, in brackets, developers experience, and developer advocacy. These terms can sound very new, and the need for developer relations most often arises in companies uh, that focus on creating certain services, maybe, or products like which are made from developers and to developers, so to say, peer-to-peer combination. And in this case, it's no longer enough to simply provide a kind of a ready-made box with software or maybe a technology or a product, and or maybe just to conduct a marketing or a PR campaign. It's a very it's much more complex thing, and you need to form your own community of IT professionals and win their attention and win the attention of existing IT communities to receive and work with different types of feedback, and to uh, I would say to convey the importance of your technology and of your products or stack, maybe as an example. And I plan to talk about the community aspects primarily, but before we do that, let's quickly go through what developer relations, what developer evangelism mean. And let's start with developer relations. You can see here three different types of roles: community building, a developer evangelist, and developer advocates. I'm this type of guy, a community builder, and working with communities, but there are two similar branches, and I'm going to explain some differences between them. So, who is a developer advocate? A developer advocates are people who interact with the community of developer. By the way, all of them interact with the community of developers but developer advocates tell people how to use a certain product effectively, and also who protect the interests of users in front of a development team, and who also participate in the development of a product as well. So these guys are coming from an engineering background, and developer advocates, they deal with communication, and they communicate with end users who are primarily developers, and their tasks are to promote and to improve a product or a technology through building kind of long-term relationships which cultivate between the user and a company. And often, very often, their work can be associated with public speaking, training, a lot of networking, and it requires not only a high level of technical knowledge, but also some empathy and emotional intelligence, and the ability to put themselves in the shoes of a user, kind of. And such advocates, they directly influence the development of products, and they also make different suggestions for changes, and they work closely with the product team. For me, for example, as a community manager, I don't do that things. And the main focus of the developer advocate is to create some technical content for engineers and working with feedback from the IT community. You remember I told that these guys are coming from engineering, and they can speak the same language with engineers and produce lots of technical content. And almost always they are former engineers with good soft skills, and but it sometimes happens when maybe some PR, marketing, sales, or maybe HR guys who are feeling pretty advanced in engineering and have some understanding of engineering and learn something new. They have seriously upgraded their technical skills, they also sometimes come to this position, but that doesn't happen too often. And the second one is a developer evangelist. And these guys are promoting the product to a wide audience through participating at, at conferences and maybe producing some content for blogs in technical media and creating recognition and creating a community around a certain product. And very, very often these roles of advocate and evangelist, they are confused and combined, but they are not interchangeable, I would say, because an evangelist, he's a speaker, he or she is a speaker. They are kind of mediators between a company and its employees and with some external audience. They usually speak on behalf of the company. They speak at conferences, meetups, blogs in tech media, and they instruct user developers on how to best use a certain product. They talk about different benefits, opportunities, and they also explain how a certain product, a certain technology stack or service or a technology, how it solves a certain problem for a business and help the developers do their job. And I always wondered that at first glance, a tech evangelist is very similar to a developer advocate, but in fact, it's the evangelist is much more about selling a product than interacting with the community on technical issues. And their main goal is to make pure propaganda, I would say, about their product and to form an agenda about their product, maybe some new product areas. And most often, technical evangelists are needed for new directions in the industry. Maybe there's something under hype and some new products, some innovative products are released. And when it's necessary, they explain what problems the product solves and whom it can be useful. These technical evangelists are also focused on speaking to business audiences and conferences, and maybe hosting some meetings with CTOs, even with CEOs, to shape and to convey to the audience the importance about a particular technology and the product, maybe for the whole industry. And the third one, as I said, I belong to this group of people as I serve as a community specialist. They uh, they manage and grow certain community around the product, and they are needed to organize its work and give an impulse to its speedy development, I can say. And while the efforts of the people above are focused on working with communities around the product, all three of them work with communities and they work with technologies, but there is always someone who has to manage all of that organizational processes. This person organizes and supports the community, and he helps to develop it and to give some impulse to move forward. And of course, it requires very similar skill set, but these guys are usually not that good in the engineering, and they don't write code, and they usually don't speak the same knowledge, the same language with the developers. But anyway, they also should have a pretty good command of what they are doing. And that will help them to make some interesting contents, interesting events, and excite their audience. And community builder always accompanies this communication process. And he has to find and introduce people to each other and organize meetups, different formats of events. We will go on even formats a bit later. And the main focus of such guys who name themselves as community builders or community managers is to work among existing developer communities. They need to always keep abreast of the processes taking place within the community, and maybe they have to know some brightest representatives both in the community and in the company, inside the company. They also organize their participation in meetups and maybe some other activities, not only concerning event formats. And community managers and specialists will also need technical skills, as I mentioned before, but they primarily need more of soft skill set, and of course, yes, and the understanding of marketing and business development. And what the community manager and developer advocate really have in common is building and gathering some information within the community about interesting product use cases and maybe some emerging issues arising and collaborative project opportunities. So we are now stopping here at this topic of community, and let's try to understand what's the meaning of community. I would say that it's a group of people who care about each other and feel they belong together. I think no matter what community we are talking about, be it a technical community, be it a hobby, or maybe an IT community, or even some religious community, the definition is always the same, and it really sounds very simple. And the main things to care about when building a community is that you never build a community for people. It should be always with people. And the second important thing is that you are not managing and leading the community, but you are nurturing leaders among your community. And the next thing to stop is that I would like to use our blockchain professionals community as an example here. You can find the link. I think you are already joined. You have already joined our community as you are our event participant, and we are kind of a group of blockchain enthusiasts who are interested in the concept of blockchain, in blockchain engineering, and in its early adoption. We are pretty optimistic in these matters. And all we do is to connect people. We try to improve our brand awareness, stay at the edge of different trends, and advance our project delivery, and always support various initiatives. And so we've got to this moment around 2,300 people inside, and this number has doubled within the last couple of months. And how do we do that? We achieve these results using these three simple solutions. I wouldn't say that they are simple, they are very difficult and hard. And those are content, activity, and partnerships. So let's start with the first one, which is content. In terms of content, we produce different types of information and content. We send a monthly newsletter. We engage people using our social media channels. We have our own knowledge and technical base for our developers. And we also plan to make surveys, to make polls, and to provide market research in the nearest future and prepare a portfolio of our projects. And we also have started a podcast this year, a podcast dedicated to blockchain, but it's still in Russian language, and we have plans to launch another one in English. Also, our colleagues help us. I say colleagues, but they are our community participants. We are working on making events and engage existing developers and attracting new people into our community through different formats. There are plenty of different formats you can practice when working with the community. For example, we host webinars twice a month, and it's this year we started we started doing it more often, and also our colleagues and mentors, they run a mentorship program 3 or 4 times a year, and they educate newcomers to learn something new about blockchain development and maybe get hired. There are also some big event formats like networking events, like hackathons, like corporate challenges and conferences. And of course, they don't happen that often, like webinars or maybe some small meetups. And they usually take place something like once or twice a year, or maybe once in a season. And this event, by the way, is a great example of such a big event. And such big events really give a huge impulse in terms of attracting new audiences. And the last one is partnership. I cannot say that we are mastering this one, but still we have our partners and vendors who always support us with speakers who help us with inviting some new audiences. For example, we usually ask maybe some Java communities or other our vendors, startups who we already got to know each other, and they help us to make to spread the word about our events, about our communities, and to exchange our audiences between each other. And sometimes even we get sponsorship from such partnerships. For example, such formats like hackathons, they need sponsors for providing prizes for the winners. And I think I'm ready to make a sum up. And to sum up, a tech community is all about, first of all, growing and managing a developer community by engaging with developers to support. And also, it's very important to deploy different online and offline campaigns for developers, such as hackathons, workshops, conferences, starting from ideation and to execution. And they also coordinate, organize, and present at different meetups. They participate different events themselves around the world. And another thing they do is they set up close partnerships with different regional communities, universities, public chains, and maybe some associations. And also, it's needed to execute some innovative strategies to increase and maximize community engagement, and including advocacy, which I mentioned before, and maybe some developer tools, support and mentorship, education, evangelism, and much more. And I would say that there is a lot of logistics work when working in this sphere. That's why it's always better to have a separate person who will deal with all that bureaucracy and administrative paperwork and all that organizational issues. And usually uh, not every company can hold it uh, to ask their senior developers or maybe any other guys from the team to distract them with such activities. That's why it's very important to have someone like an advocate, evangelist, or a community manager dedicated with a separate role. And but I would say that even there are lots of administrative and some logistical things in this job. I think that this work makes really a lot of fun, and I would say that I really enjoyed this job. And I think that was it from my side, and I would be very happy to answer your questions.
Uh, Thank you, Alec. It was quite an interesting story. I didn't expect that there are so many people who take part in creating a community. And now I understand why some communities are quite live. I mean, a lot of things are happening, people are communicating, and some communities just die on its own. I really thought that it's just in the flow and it's lives its own life. So yes, thank you, Alec, that you shared these insights. So how many people are creating our blockchain community, which you mentioned?
So we have primarily we have our colleague Sasha Petkevich, who were presenting the first session today. She is our blockchain lead and responsible for the blockchain practice at EPAM and for this external blockchain community. And I'm helping with all that community things. And but that's not only us, because we have very strong relationships with our contributors and with people who are uh, helping us, who help us with this event in particular and with other activities. And we always communicate. We always try to uh, produce something new. And as I said, it's uh, it's not good to to always ask the developers or the production team to engage in such activities. That's why I'm the person who contacts and who coordinates all that processes. And in our community, we have, I think, about 12 people who we can name as our permanent and uh, very active contributors, and I really appreciate their help. And as I mentioned before, that uh, we are not managing this community, because community has to be able to live on its own. I'm very happy to see that there are lots of initiatives coming from inside, and there are no hierarchy, and that we are always asking someone to do something, and that's really fruitful collaboration between people.
Yeah, it sounds like a great job. I guess it takes a lot of time and energy to build the community and to support its work and to develop. I mean, to find new members, new experts. I have never thought of it. So thank you, Alec, that you explained to us. But as far as I understand, it's not the first community which you built. Um, but still, even if it's not your first experience, were there any pitfalls which you're looking at now and think that you would improve it next time?
Yes, I would say this job is full of pitfalls and full of fails, and yes, there are always something uh, going a wrong way. And in my previous experience, I worked with startup communities. I helped with the ideation processes for people to come with their ideas to build their startups. And I also worked with product analyst communities. And uh, when I joined that job, the pandemics hit, and so we had to switch to online types of communication, which we didn't get used to in the beginning. And the main problem is that the sooner the event is, the more tasks there are, and the busier everyone is. So prior to the event, everyone is very busy. And for example, if we are talking about an offline event, uh, there are lots of tasks to do on your own. Even if there is a big team, there is a dedicated people for everything, but you sometimes you don't have enough time to be able to coordinate with all volunteers, with even sometimes you have to take a screwdriver to set up the banner, and lots of things. They are time consuming, and the sooner the event is, you have less time. And that's the first problem, I would say, which arises. And but it's okay to get used to it. And the second thing is that there is always a fear of that the audience will not come, and that the number of participants will not be enough, so that all of your labor is made for nothing. That's the biggest fear. But I hope that's really enjoying that this conference hit the number of 1,300 people registered participants, and there is no such fear. But in my previous experience, we had such problems when people didn't come, and there were maybe some pitfalls in the marketing strategy, in timing, or even some problems with the contents or speakers or the technical side.
Yeah, I confirm. I'm one of those who took part in organization. I mean, as a moderator, and I confirm that the team made everything it just perfect. You did your best. Everything was quite convenient, planned, and I appreciate your experience regarding maybe other events organization. So everything was quite comfortable, both for moderators and speakers, and hope for the guests as well. By the way, dear guests, you are very welcome to ask your questions in Q&A tab. We are free to answer them. Have some time. And still, while we are not having any questions in Q&A tab, I have a lot because Alik's story was pretty interesting for me. Maybe this question is not asked in Q&A tab, but I've heard it many times from external people. I mean, not the palm employees. Maybe I know the answer, but I'll ask this question to Alik because you will be the best to answer this question. The question is, why EPAM is built in this blockchain community, which is not just for EPAM employees, why it's like open for everyone? What's the benefit for our company to do it?
So let me just name a couple of purposes we have. So first of all, we have our blockchain practice in EPAM, and I think this common problem not only for the blockchain practice, but even for the whole IT sector in the world, that there is a high demand on developers, and uh, each project and each company always suffers from the lack of developers. They are always sufficient and not enough for companies. So the project demand is very high, and the number of developers is not that big. So one of my goals is so that there is some to attract some interest into the topic to this topic of blockchain development, so that people could come, educate, network, learn from each other, doing some peer-to-peer activities, and uh, also build some knowledge base, so that it's kind of evergreen content which is always available for everyone. And as I said, it's not leading a community, but when you get all that people together, they start to grow and turn into something bigger. And why it's not only internal but external as well, because yes, we are always happy for to see some new people to communicate, network, and that's really very productive to make a community external, because lots of new initiatives, lots of communication with vendors, maybe some account management processes become much easier. And I think yes, that's it. To be short, it's uh, to connect blockchain professionals, to share knowledge, to stay at the edge of technology, and to build some assets for project delivery.
Yeah, I also heard many times that there are many job offers for IT professionals, and not only money motivation or is a thing which helps IT professional make a choice. And one of the things which matters is some, I don't know, non-material things like communities inside the company. I don't know. So yes, thing that you're doing it helps our company to be interesting for IT professionals all over the world. I'm also interested to know what's the benefit to be inside the community just for members. I mean, could you mention maybe some things that are going on inside community besides this conference? Maybe if you know some next events, could you share the plans, please?
So yes, uh, I'm bringing this website where people can join to our community, and uh, yes, people can be just a passive member and come to our events to participate. All the upcoming events are listed here, and also every past event is available as well. And the videos are on our YouTube and on our social media. We are doing always our announcements there, and we not only have big blockchain events and regular blockchain events, but also educate people and try to try to mentor and bring new people into community so that we could collaborate in terms of maybe building something new or supporting each other, helping to each other, or maybe even to staff to product to some job opportunities as well, if there are some.
Yeah, that's great, especially the fact that you can even educate people uh, for to those who are members of communities. And as far as I understand, it's just for free. Everyone is free to join our community. Alik is showing a website. So please, if you're not a member of our blockchain community, please enter. Alik, is it true that we have more than 3,000 participants inside? I just saw it in the slide. Do we
We
have
have
such a number
no,
of members inside?
there is we need to update this information because there is 1.3 or 1,300 people
Ah,
before.
one.
It was before, but to this moment we have 2,300 people. That's pretty much.
Yeah, it is pretty much. And I guess that after this conference, uh, many other professionals will join us, both from EPAM and external experts. We have one question from Andrew. He's asking, you a little bit mentioned this thing during the presentation, but still the question is,
Mhm.
does the community has connections with external communities, maybe some other IT communities or blockchain as well?
Yes, we have. So according to my job, yeah, generally speaking, we have our vendors who always help us to, and different companies and startups uh, who make their speeches on our platform. And according to my particular job, we have a list and a list of sources of different communities in different domains. For example, if a certain event is interesting for Java engineers, the Java developers, we go to Java communities and say, please, could you please share our event, make an announcement of our event and invite your people. And we have our communication partners in different domains, and also as we are a worldwide community, and I'm very happy that people around the world are inside of our community. We also have a source of local communities, I mean, for different regions, for example, for CIS, Europe, APAC region, and so on.
Oh, great. And do they have any offline events as well, or not yet?
Uh, we used to have offline events before I joined the team, but we plan to continue offline events maybe sooner. But since the pandemic started and we adapted to make the events all the events online, and so that yes, of course there are some disadvantages of making everything online, but on the other hand, are able to we don't have any geographical borders.
Yeah, that's great because blockchain is blockchain in general is has no borders, and yes, it's true that we have no borders inside the community as well. Yes, you mentioned that we have so many members, and this number is growing all the time. But when did this community start from scratch? How many time passed already? How much time?
I'm not sure to name to name the
More or
date because
less.
yes, I think a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3. Yes, but I joined the team maybe a year ago, last December or November. I don't remember actually, but yes. Uh, so it's it's been a couple of years.
Okay, okay, great. Because I think it's good result for a couple of years. We have already so many members and quite a rare topic because still blockchain is something new for most of the people, and it's nice that we have such a community inside our company. We have another question from our guest, also Andrew. Have you ever connected investors with teams, leveraging the power of the community. Maybe inside this community, or maybe your previous experience as well.
So yes, uh, in this community, we didn't have a chance to practice such kind of formats, and I don't think that's, yes, it can be conducted within our community, but that's not a primarily thing. But in my previous experience, yes, when I worked with startup communities, we always had that demo days when I invited different investors who were watching these startup pitches so that they could get to know each other and think if a certain startup can be if they are have a will to invest in a certain startup. And yes, so formats like demo days and hackathons, they usually can provide such opportunity to investors to collaborate with maybe brightest engineers or maybe with other startups or teams.
Yeah. And regarding hackathons, uh, how is it going on inside EPAM? Could you describe a little bit what it was like when it was our previous hackathon? What was is there any like topic for which your participants are thinking of some solution, or it's just like some spontaneous thing? How is it
So
going on inside?
yes,
Mhm.
I think there is no exact definition of what hackathon is. I mean, each from company to company, people understand this term differently, and here in blockchain professionals community, we had two hackathons already last year and this year, and the last one was offline. You can see the pictures on our website. That was in Shenzhen in China, but I wasn't working at IPAM at that time. But we had our latest hackathon in June. That was a two-day hackathon. Uh, that was a competition of blockchain developers who were trying to solve two problem statements given by our sponsors. But unfortunately, that problem statements, no one could no one could solve that problem statements, and no one could win that hackathon. And we have some lessons learned to think about the format of online hackathons the so that the problem statements given by sponsors at hackathons could be uh, solved within a short period of time. But
Oh yes,
yes, one insight we took from that it's in the format of online events, online hackathons, it's always better to host. It's not in a format of hackathon, but in a format of competition, and make it more make it longer in terms of time, something like 1 or 2 months period.
oh, I have never heard that hackathons could take so much time,
So yeah,
but yeah.
that's why I'm naming it a competition, not a hackathon.
Hmm. And you mentioned sponsors. Is it correct that real businesses, maybe some banks or I don't know whatever, can come to our community and say that they have some real production problem that perhaps could be solved using blockchain technology, and they would like to be sponsors and just ask for any ideas?
Yes, sure. That's exactly as you described, because we are always open for any interesting initiative. And when people come or companies come and they want to collaborate in terms of something, we are always happy to help, because that's one of our goals, so that people connect, build, or learn. And we also do this job from our side, and always try to think about it and to get other companies or partners involved.
Yeah, it really sounds quite great that that our members can help real businesses, maybe even they don't prepare a real solution for the 1 or 2 days or even one month's time, but maybe they can get real insights from young IT professionals who are involved in blockchain technologies. And another question is, it's really my insight. I was really happy to know that to have blockchain communities inside our company, because to many people who know EPAM, they have association that EPAM is in a global IT company who works mostly with some big corporations, big banks, investment banks, big econ projects, and crypto and blockchain topics are usually associated with some startups. And it seems, I mean, for many people who tell me it's like two different worlds. And maybe it's, do you have such an insight? Do real businesses like big corporations turn their eyes to blockchain technology and come to us, to company which they trust?
Yes, I confirm that, but I'm not sure if I am allowed to name
Yeah,
the
yeah, of
vendors,
course,
but
it's in
yes, of course.
just in
Uh,
general.
yes, in general, it is, and the topic of blockchain is a very overhyped nowadays, and that's nowadays it's not only interesting for startups and small companies, but also for huge corporations, because if they don't advance in this field, they will be behind others.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We don't have any questions yet, but I think before we finish this session, uh, Alec, could you please share your insights after already 3 days and a half of this conference? Did you hear some new topic? Did you did you even have time to listen to one of the talks? Was there something new for you during these 3 days and a half?
Uh, to be honest, yes, I really enjoy. I'm really still enjoying the whole process of this event, and uh, all of the topics, all of the speakers, all of the agenda we set up, and I really appreciate the work of our contributors, moderators, and everyone who was involved. Did I think I'll do some thank you words a bit later, but also cannot mention that there is a great team who are working together and very productively. I uh, can say that the topics are also very interesting, and especially that we could bring up the topic of healthcare and sport in some cases. I think Sharmilan was talking about that, and uh, Tom
Yeah,
Peterson,
well,
and
I
yeah,
was one of the moderators there.
yeah, uh, yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. There were so many things, and I think I will come back to the recording. I know that we have recordings, so dear guests, if you miss some interesting talks or you want just to see something one more time, you're welcome. You can find a recording in our community page. Ali, could you please share where they can find it? The recording of
So
this conference and previous one as well, if you missed it.
yes, first of all, I would like to ask all the people to join our community if you still haven't, and subscribe to our social media channels, because all the announcements will be there. And yes, after you join the community, I think it would be pretty easy to find where the recordings are, and we will publish them maybe within a week after the event ends.
But when was the previous conference? How much time passed between the two?
This is an annual conference, and it happens once in a year.
Yeah, because my last question was, do you already plan the new conference? When will it take place?
Not yet, not yet. That will be next year.
Oh, okay, because it's so interesting and it's so nice to find people who are inside the topic. So since we don't have any new questions, uh, thank you, Alec, that you shared your insights. It was so pretty interesting, and I still confirm that I have never had an idea that to build a community, so many people need to be involved, specialists in marketing, in then I'll not mention all them, but I understood that we have like a big team of professionals who make this community be alive, develop, find new members, experts, and partnership with other communities. It was pretty interesting for me to know it, and now I understand why our blockchain community is developing so fastly, because we have a big of team behind it. Thank you that you shared your insights. Thank you, our
Thank you
guests.
so much.
And we will see you in 10 minutes, because we have another speaker. He will tell us about autonomous companies. I think it's about decentralized companies. So please come to our next session, and you have a short break for a coffee. See you in 10 minutes. Bye.
Yeah,
Thank you, Alec.
thank you too. Bye bye.